All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Sticky Bleachers, a podcast. I'm Bobby here with you today.
And I am Corey, not wearing a kilt, but I can tell you, Bob, this weekend, not for the first time in my life, I saw dozens, if not hundreds, of grown adult men, many of them educated, in kilts
Traditional
here in Dublin
Irish
this weekend.
garb.
It is not traditional Irish garb. It was the Scotsmen who were in town for the big finale of the Six Nations rugby tournament. The Scottish visited the Irish here for St. Patrick's Day weekend, and a lot of folks just turned it into a long weekend, which is what a lot of Dublin visitors do around St. Paddy's Day. So
that's cool.
They pile in for the big parties on Thursday. I stayed well away from that, but on Saturday I went up to town, which is the day of the rugby match, and we did I took advantage of some of the free cultural things that are around St. Patrick's Day weekend that are not involved in the big melee or the scrum that happens in town around the festivities.
Is that what they call it, the scrum?
Well, I just call it the scrum.
Gotcha.
Scrum, as you remember from an episode a few weeks ago, is a rugby term that we're going to talk about. But anyway, real quick, just wrapping it up. Ireland beat Scotland in an impressive match. Probably they could have had a better showing in the tournament if they had played like they played on Saturday against Scotland. They were scoring long kicks. They got a couple of tries. Remember, that's like the touchdown. But what I thought was most notable, Bob, is that you would have liked this one because this more than any other rugby game that I've seen got pretty chippy.
Good.
In the second half. Things got a little heated. And in rugby, if you get a yellow card, you actually get put in the penalty box and you get a power play like hockey.
Interesting.
So Ireland took advantage of a couple of those, and one of the Scottish ones, Bob, the guy basically gave an Irish player a pile driver. There's no other way to put that with what happened. He was trying
Technical
to clear
term.
off. There was a scramble for the ball, and like in the NFL, you get a fumble, you get a scramble for the ball, and in an effort to clear off one of the Irish players from this pile, the Scottish guy just picked him up, and his head. I don't think he meant to, but
Sure.
The Irish guy's head got between his legs, and they just landed very, very pile driver like.
Pile driver,
and that earned him a yellow card, not a red card for what was. I mean, if they had done it from a standing position, it would have been a full-on pile driver. This was from a laying down position, so that the fall onto the head was not quite as.
It
long.
wasn't like the Undertaker with his tombstone pile driver, holds
No,
the
it
guy
was not
and looks
quite a
and taunts
tombstone.
the crowd and then does it.
Yes, It was not quite a.
That would have been a red
but
card.
It was
is what you're saying.
Probably that would have. Well, probably would have a red card. Just to straight up pull a pro wrestling move. Now, whether an RKO out of nowhere or just a diamond cutter, as we should call it, done properly. I don't know whether that would have done it.
It all depends.
Or like a Kurt Angle ankle lock. I don't know if you can do that in rugby.
Well, that's.
But
that might be one of the worst finishing moves there, the Kurt Angle ankle lock. But that was to pad his Olympic athlete character. So.
Well, that's right. Well, I don't know. They haven't built in submission scoring into rugby yet. Maybe that's something they can next time the Rugby Congress gets together to talk about international competition rules.
The owners' meetings.
Put in. Yeah, they can build submission moves into it, so it'll make it a little more appealing to the UFC fans.
Speaking of the owners' meetings, I saw that the NFL was looking into a yellow card type situation when it comes to ejecting players and stuff.
Ooh.
So we might be seeing more yellow cards on this side of the pond come next year.
I'll have to find that. That's very interesting. I'm sure that will have a lot of American fans will probably be upset that those Euro.
Well, we already have yellow
are
flags, so it seems like it's an easy transition. So maybe the red card would be too much. The red card might be a little too much for American football fans.
But I like the idea of if you do a personal foul, all right, there's the yards. If it's a personal foul plus, you get the yards and you get the warning. And then if you do another personal foul plus after that, you're out. I assume that's what they're looking at.
It was about player ejections. So that's where I think you might get a warning, and then the next one is an ejection or something like that. I don't know.
Right. Well, in basketball, what's going on with basketball? But we have the technical one and the technical two and the flagrant one and flagrant two, which are basically a yellow and red card, right?
Yeah.
You can get a flagrant one that has one kind of penalty, and flagrant two gets the instant ejection.
Yep.
So it's a
In
way
the
to
college
more
game.
fairly handle. Yeah, in the college game, right? You are in the college game.
That's one of the things I enjoy about the college game a lot is that things can get chippy, but there's not a very long leash for getting chippy. So it's the team that plays with the more even-keeled persona generally wins out over the hot-headed team that hasn't been there before and stuff. So
right. So speaking of,
oh yeah, that's right. We've had some college
Bob,
basketball games over the weekend, right?
Most boring first weekend in college basketball ever, or what?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it was a pretty exciting weekend.
Yes, it was an incredible weekend. I was lucky enough to watch a lot of it on the Irish side, but I think ESPN sums up the first round pretty well. This is from @ESPN on Twitter, verified account. Madness at its finest. This is the first time in NCAA tourney history that a 13, 14, and 15 seed all won on the same day, not just on round one. On the same day, we had a 13, 14, and 15 seeder. Those Michigan State fans, heartbroken, Bob.
Well, I think everyone was heartbroken from the Michigan State thing. We all like to see upsets and everything, but I don't think we like to see upsets when everybody picked that team to go at least to the Elite Eight or Final Four. I mean, some people I think were getting creative and having them knocked out maybe as early as the Sweet 16, but even still, they have been knocked out in the first round versus Middle Tennessee State University. That was just crazy. I don't know if you saw, but so Middle Tennessee State's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and not a single person in Murfreesboro picked Middle Tennessee State University to beat Michigan State. So,
I thought you were going to talk about Charles Barkley calling out Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Oh well, yeah, he didn't know where Middle Tennessee State was.
Here's those guys in the middle of nowhere. Why you tweeting? And then the next day, I don't know if you saw this. I don't remember which game it was, but at halftime they pulled up some data about Murfreesboro and about Charles Barkley's hometown in Alabama. And they're like, all right, Murfreesboro has several stoplights. Yeah. Your town has nothing. Murfreesboro has a public bus
Murfreesboro is actually
system.
Very big. So, bigger than a small little town in the middle of Tennessee. So,
well, having not spent much time in Tennessee, I can't say, but I bet it's bigger than Charles Barkley's hometown. It would look to be about 1,600, 2,000. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being from a small town, but it doesn't give you a lot of weight when you want to go, what are they doing out in the middle of nowhere there? They shouldn't be tweeting.
We'll get back to Charles Barkley
Twitter
here and some of the things. So, let's go best games, worst games here, Corey. What were some of the best games you saw over the weekend?
The best games I watched over the weekend, the Notre Dame Stephen F. Austin game I watched most of the second half of. That was pretty exciting. I didn't actually get to see their big upset bid over West Virginia.
That was an impressive game. The West Virginia Stephen F. Austin game was, but that Notre Dame game was that was a battle, and both teams were sticking around, and you got to. It was luck. A lot of it was luck on the end of Notre Dame, and there were a couple of chances for SFA to have some easy turnover points and stuff, and they didn't capitalize on it. So that obviously came back to bite them towards the end. But man, they played hard, and Notre Dame's lucky to get out of there with that victory.
Wait, who?
Notre Dame was lucky to get out of there with that victory.
What?
I see what you're doing.
What?
What was another game?
What
was another game you had?
Well, so I watched some sad games. I did watch the Baylor-Yale game. That was, we'll get to sad games. I watched the Baylor-Yale game.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Now, sadly, I got to watch a lot of them, but a lot of the ones I watched were on the earlier slot, and I wasn't always on lucky enough to go to those best ones that happened in the early slot. So I did miss like the Indiana-Kentucky game and a few of the other big primetime games that were the most highly rated games of the weekend.
I'm telling you, watch out for Indiana. They're playing well. That's one of my best Sweet 16 matchups, but we'll get to that later on. So.
Yeah. I listened to the Wichita State-Miami game.
That was.
I think I also listened to the Wichita State-Arizona game because the Westwood One radio broadcasts are streaming free everywhere around the world. Everybody, so if you are not able to tie yourself to a screen, that's a really nice way to catch the games. Now, Iron Eagle, as we talked about last time, has moved up to the TV ranks, but they still have a pretty good lineup of radio announcers. So I would recommend those also.
Yeah, those Wichita State games. One was awesome. One was a heartbreaker. So. They came back. I believe they were down 21 at one point, and they came back to take the lead at some point during the second half, but couldn't hold on to it, and a very good Miami team advances on to the Sweet 16. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, Corey, but that Texas UNI game, that first game that UNI played, That was a great game. We were actually playing a show at a bar over in Iowa. So we had a bunch of UNI fans and stuff there in the bar, and we had taken a break and looked like the game was going to go to halftime, and then Jesperson hit the half court shot, and the whole place just went crazy. So it was one of those fun.
Yeah, now you're lucky that happened while you were taking a break, because if I was a performing musician and that happened in the corner of my eye on a television screen, it would have taken a lot of
I was watching the
to
game the
not
entire
break
time.
in the middle of a song.
I was watching the game the entire time. I mean, it was. We were playing the songs and stuff, but my eyes were glued to the television. So, and then we were in.
So your heart wasn't in that performance. Is that what you're telling me?
No, just I was joining everybody else in the bar. So,
because nobody was listening to you playing anyway.
You can't fight March Madness with music. So you can only join March Madness with music. So we actually that's
right. There's no.
There's a song by a band called Wilco called You and I, and so we played that as like a motivator for you and I. So, but I digress.
Right. Excellent.
Yes.
You should play just the CBS college sports song and just play that all night. You could make a ton of money.
We need to learn the riff for Seven Nation Army. That would really be what we need to learn, so we can just.
It's way too complex, Bob. It's no.
There's no way
no guitar player has been able to emulate it since.
I know.
Jack White.
I know. It's the last great riff. It's the last great riff, Corey.
He's the Django Reinhardt of modern day. He's the Leo Kottke of our time.
Yes, he is.
He does things with his fingers that no other human can even attempt.
Hey, we're lucky to have him.
And if you try to sound like him, you just sound like a fraud.
We're lucky to have him. Yeah, that's why I never do it. So we're lucky to have him.
I think Jack White would be a good candidate for those old MTV commercials where they showed you an imaginary thing of what a rock star looked like when they were a kid.
Yeah. He would be a good candidate. Yeah, they did. Was that the Smashing Pumpkins?
You saw a young. Yeah, the Smashing, and then there was the young Marilyn Manson one where he had the evil grandma reading him a nasty fairy tale with a storm outside. And then Billy Corgan was a little bald kid
just smashing a pumpkin.
in grade school. Yeah, they trip him. He goes, "Welcome to Earth, space boy." Anyway, we're talking basketball, Bob. How about worst games to watch? Most boring games, most one-sided games. Do we have to start with our Homer Iowa team in the second round?
Well, actually, I had Villanova beating Iowa, so that was actually Iowa coming through in the clutch for me by losing. So that was that.
Yeah, well, I don't mean games that made you happy.
Yeah,
but I mean games that were just non-competitive.
Games, oh, you mean non-competitive games? I went with games that were not, that didn't make me happy, but also weren't that good of games, I think, or the team didn't show up. So, like the Syracuse-Dayton game, this Syracuse team, I didn't think they should be in the tournament at all. And then they got a gift in March for Christmas by Middle Tennessee beating Michigan State.
Yes.
And then that Syracuse-Middle Tennessee State game was not very good at all either. So I don't know how the Gonzaga-Syracuse game will go. I'm not going to bet against Syracuse because apparently that's not something I should do. But that Gonzaga team looked pretty good. So,
a 10 and 11 seed meeting in the Sweet 16, Bob.
And probably, I don't think Gonzaga is really an 11 seed. I mean, as they've been saying and stuff. So, that UNI Texas A&M game, I don't know if you got a chance to see any of those highlights. I know that was a later game, but that was
I caught the highlights of it. I watched the entire last couple of minutes on the NCAA March Madness YouTube channel, which, may I aside for just a second about that YouTube channel?
But yes, absolutely.
The NCAA March Madness official YouTube channel, I'm not plugging it, I'm not slamming it. They put a ton of videos on there, like dozens every day throughout the tournament, and I like that they are including lots of the coverage so that people like me can catch the highlights that we want, that we need, without getting the studio thing from the CBS guys. Mm-hmm. But man, some of them look like they're really hastily edited and just kind of thrown up on YouTube as quickly as they can.
Like most things on YouTube?
Almost like a pirate site. Well, see, it's almost like it's a pirate site, like someone who's DVR'd it and is vining all these things and just throwing them together and uploading. But a lot of these, some of the videos, even the highlights, they will repeat. Like the highlight will play, and then a couple other things later, and then someone accidentally copied and pasted the same highlight a couple of minutes later.
Damn interns.
The video was like, man. I'm sure they're scrambling to put this together. It's very interesting. I appreciate that I can find the highlights I want, but it's very I don't know. Maybe they put up better quality ones as the tournament goes on for the final versions, and these are just ones they throw up there for people like me to try to find.
You're so picky. And
I
10
know,
years ago,
I
you'd have
know.
been absolutely happy just to see it on YouTube. Now you need an
I know.
HD and Dolby surround
Yeah, that's
sound.
right, and it has to be edited well.
Yes.
Yeah, and it can't be clickbaity.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to watch the top 10 social moments of Saturday. That's what I would expect to be on a YouTube channel, is only that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the WWE YouTube channel. It's all like, here's the best tweets from WWE wrestlers this week.
Yes.
Like, I want to see the matches, but no. Anyway.
But that UNI Texas
so
A&M
that's where I
game.
watched the NM game. Yes, I watched the last minute of that. That was incredible. That scoring flurry they went on
Yes.
to tie it up.
Very impressive. I don't want to fault UNI totally on that one. I think you just got to give credit to Texas A&M for not giving up and really playing 40 seconds of some great basketball. I mean, what was it? It was a 14-2 run, I believe they went on in 40 seconds. Yeah. That's impressive no matter who you're playing. So the UNI was in it. They were in it so much that I switched over. I started watching The Walking Dead when that game was on, and then I kept my eye on my phone and just to see the box score. But considering, I actually told my wife with a minute left and they were up by 10, I was like, looks like UNI is going to win. And sure enough, I jinxed them. So that was probably my fault. But
well, so you're making it official so the world can come after you at Brock for Broglio on Twitter. Go ahead and find him and throw your
I think
heat.
a lot of people had Texas A&M win that game. So I think there might be a lot more people on my side than anything else. So
right.
But it was a great game. Texas A&M, I think they're a really good basketball team. It's funny, we'll go back to Charles Barkley here for a second. But in the halftime of that game, UNI was up something like 9 or 10 points. And Charles Barkley said in the halftime thing, he was like, well, if this lead is like 10 or more points, this Texas A&M team is going to have a real hard time putting together that many baskets in a row to actually overcome this lead. And I just thought it was poetic justice. It was that in 40 seconds, not only did they come back from 10 down, but 14 down to tie the game and then end up winning the game in 2 overtimes. So it shows that all these analysts, they're paid talking heads, really. I mean, some of them you have more insider knowledge than others, but at the end of the day, they're not playing the games on the court, and that's really the people that determine the game. So
right. So some of the most defining moments of any tournament, but especially in these first rounds where things are so crazy, are the buzzer beaters, Bob. And boy, did we have some buzzer beaters.
Some fun ones.
We had some classic ones. We talked about the UNI Paul Jesperson one, and I was looking at reactions to those. Weasel Bear, who is a Tennessee Volunteers fan, says, "I screamed like a strange Latino banshee." I'm not sure what that noise was. And also, this is the epitome of what college basketball should be. That's from Wisconsin Badgers fan, Bucks in 6, like Nikki Six. And now, in another almost buzzer beater was the controversial Cincinnati dunk.
Yes.
That just missed the clock. Didn't quite beat the clock. 2 teams had their hearts ripped out of their chests in like 45 seconds because that happened very close in real time to the UNI game. And Bearcats fan, the Ani, says, "Why am I watching this? Why am I here? Why has this season been never-ending pain?" So
I think we all ask
those of
ourselves
you who
that
haven't
question
seen
at
it,
some point when we're watching it.
yeah, that's right. So those of you who haven't seen this one, it was a pass right under the basket. He went up with about 1 second, maybe a little more than 1 second left on the clock, and tried to throw it in. Didn't quite make it look like it was just coming off of his fingertip into the cylinder as the clock hit 0. They had real nice looks out on the camera.
That was the other thing with it. They had a lot of nice looks at the shot. So I think they got the call right. For sure. But
I think so too. But it kind of calls into or it throws into relief, I guess, a lot of the other ones that were tip-ins or quick layups that beat the clock. The Iowa overcame Temple in overtime with an errant shot and just a one-handed tip-in. The Notre Dame game, he put that spin on the tip-in. He just kind of slapped the ball, and with the spin, it went in on the tip-in as the clock expired. So so you wonder, a young man like that, you always have to wonder if he's going to, years from now, think like, man, why didn't I just lay it in? Why did I go for the dunk? Why didn't I lay it? I don't know. That's a tough one. But also Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin
on the buzzer beater.
Yeah, absolutely. It's odd. We have the normal teams, the usual suspects and stuff. Your Wisconsins and Syracuse, Kansas, and all that stuff. But then you have the crazy upset of Michigan State, and I think everyone was banking on Michigan State's March Madness resume, and Couldn't
Yep, that's
fathom
right.
losing to Middle Tennessee State in the first round.
And the tweet of the weekend, I think, came out of that game from Draymond Green's mom.
Oh yeah.
She she tweeted a picture of the sad Jordan face that had been photoshopped onto a picture of young Draymond. We presume it's young Draymond Green when he was a little kid.
Gotcha.
They put the sad, crying Jordan face onto the young Draymond Green. So I think Draymond Green's mom gets tweet of the weekend. But a lot of people said that anything could have happened from that game. Corey Lucius 43 on Reddit says those guys just balled out of control. The MTSU guys they were balling like crazy. They said another user said, Deathly Souls said, let's be honest, if you replace MSU with any other 1 or 2 seed, they were going to lose to Middle Tennessee.
On that particular day.
That team was unstoppable.
Yep. On that day, they were going to lose to anybody that they played, or they were going to win versus anybody that they played. Because Michigan State, it wasn't like they weren't in the game. They were hanging around. I mean, they started hitting some shots towards the end, but it was no real big miscue that they had other than the fact that they let Middle Tennessee State get out, 15-2, I believe, in the first half. So, again, you just got to sometimes tip your hat to the better opponent that day. So, Michigan State, obviously, great team throughout the year, and sad to see them go so early, but that's what the madness is all about. And actually, I noticed that
right you are about
after that game, after that upset, there were only 3 perfect brackets left in the ESPN bracket pool, and then the national champions that they had were West Virginia, and then I believe Cincinnati, and I think Oklahoma might have been the third one. But so someone had about 6-7 hours of feeling really, really, really good about themselves, and being one of only 3 people in the country to have a perfect bracket. And then their hearts were broken quickly later that night. So
until West Virginia lost to
who? What? Stone Cold
What?
Stephen F. Austin,
What?
baby.
Oh, I love it. So looking forward, Bob, this weekend looks like another pretty good slate of games. What's a favorite game for you, and who do you have in it? Let's go just one.
I'm gonna go UNC Indiana. I think the winner of that goes to the national championship game.
All right, and who takes that one from you?
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I want Indiana to win because they haven't been there in a little bit, but UNC is pretty athletic as a team, so I'm gonna go against my heart here. I'm gonna go UNC on this one, and say that they're gonna.
Right.
I also like the defense that UNC has played ever since the conference playoffs and stuff, and heading into the tournament. They shut some teams down. I think they had a close first half in versus Providence, but then they came out and locked down D. So I like UNC in that game. What about you, Corey?
All right. I'm going to be hoping to watch the Virginia and Iowa State game because I think that Iowa State has shown a real possibility of pulling off that one. And I actually had Virginia personally in the national championship game, but I'm starting to get a little bit nervous with them glaring down on Iowa State in the bracket. So we will have to see. I think I picked Virginia. In my bracket, I picked Virginia, and I'm going to go with Virginia,
Good.
but I think it's
like
going to be
pick.
a tough one.
I think good defense or elite defense beats out elite offense in this stage of the game. And I think Virginia can go basket to basket with Iowa State, but they can at least shut down and play better defense than Iowa State. And then if they make their buckets, then they're going to win this game. So hopefully.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on those this week, and you can hear more from us later this week with our normal hour-long, full-length Sticky Bleachers podcast. You can find us between now and then on Twitter, where we're Sticky Bleachers, and Facebook and YouTube. There's always new content, sim games, and our podcast and highlights of our sim games going up on YouTube every week. Find us there at Sticky Bleachers. Let us know what you think about the videos. Let us know what you think about your picks for this tournament so far and the big weekend coming up. It's such a great time to be indulging in sports, and we're happy to be contributing sports content. Bob, how about a real quick final breaking news story that we're going to be keeping a close eye on here in the Sticky Bleachers world?
Let's
Bob.
break some news.
Sting is refuting a TMZ report. Professional wrestler,
you have to
WWE
clarify
superstar
professional wrestler
Sting,
versus professional musician.
That's right. That's right. What is Sting's resume, Bob? Do I say former heavyweight?
He was
former IC champ.
Yeah, he was WCW heavyweight champion. I don't believe he's ever won in WWE. I stopped paying attention when he went over to WWE, not because of that, but just coincidentally.
Thanks for clearing that up, Bob. Anyway,
Big
Sting
fan.
refutes rumors broken by TMZ, the ever professional journalistic service
apparently
TMZ, that he
so.
is retiring due to some neck injuries. He says, my neck is fine. He says, I am not. But he uses words like, I am not officially retired. So he's clearly not slamming the door on TMZ. Maybe he just wants to announce it before WrestleMania himself and control the story himself. What do you think, Bob?
That might be so. A little diverging, but it's one of those things. They're setting up a story, probably. So I don't even know where Sting wrestles. Does he wrestle for the WWE anymore?
What?
Does you get me every time. Well, you set me up with our bad internet connection all the time, so.
Oh, nice! I love it.
Should know better.
But yeah, so we'll keep a close eye on these possible Sting retirement rumors. A little bit like this is like the Peyton Manning saga that we went through for a month after the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I don't know if Sting is going to pull on our heartstrings like Manning did for so long before he gives us an answer. It's like a legendary Hall of Fame professional wrestler going to be hanging it
and
up.
I don't
not,
believe
I don't know.
Sting has ever assaulted an athletic trainer, so he's got that going for him. So we don't have to worry about any awkward questions at his press conference.
But remember, Sting has a lot of life left in him after his wrestling career. And as we know, wrestlers can very easily ruin their wrestling career after they have stepped out of the ring the last time. Well, I think that's going to do it for our weekend wrap-up for now on Sticky Bleachers. I am Corey, signing off.
I'm Bob. We'll see you guys later this week.
Play ball!
Sticky.